What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back to the ThrashManiac99 YouTube channel, and I am back for yet another album review. It's been a couple of weeks since the last review I did, and I apologize for the lack of other videos on the channel. Been busy with Twitch as well as work and other things I got going on, but I'm here to talk about an album. It's not Cannibal Corpse. I'm going to be saving that for this weekend, perhaps, the Cannibal Corpse review. I wanted to talk about an album that I should have talked about back in March, but I completely forgot about it, and that is the newest release from Enforced, and it's called Kill Grid. So for those who don't know who Enforced are a thrash metal band that formed out of Richmond, Virginia back in 2016. So this is a very, very new band. So they've only been going for 5 years up to this point, and they've already gained a reputation of being one of the best upcoming thrash metal bands in America right now. And you can definitely tell with the momentum of the thrash revival since the mid-2000s, when you had bands like Municipal Waste, Evil, Havoc, Warbringer, Toxic Holocaust, all coming out of the woodwork to help bring thrash back into the form of metal in today's day and age. And then we get more bands coming out like Iron Reagan, Power Trip, and now Enforced. You kind of bring in a little bit of that hardcore punk, classic hardcore punk influence into thrash metal, like back in the 80s with the crossover thing. But enough of all that, let's talk about Kill Grid, the new album. So this album is 9 tracks, so it's a 9-track affair at roughly 41-42 minutes long, and you might be thinking, what kind of insanity are we in for here? Well, let me tell you. So we kick things off with The Doctrine, the first track of the album, an intense thrasher to begin the album as it sets the tone for what the rest of the album has in store for our heads to bang. So, and that's a great sign of a great album. Then we get to UXO, which is probably the quote-unquote slowest song of the album, as there's not really any tappa beats going on. It's more mid-tempo and hardcore influenced, and it does add a nice change in pace a little bit, as it does showcase the band's hardcore influences similar to their peers in Power Trip. Some hardcore-inspired breakdowns can be heard, and also I would like to point out, these kind of breakdowns are better than new school breakdowns that metalcore bands do today. Metalcore bands, get your breakdowns from these guys. Just a little piece of advice, I guess you could say. Then the next track, Beneath Me, which is the shortest song of the album, 2.5 minutes, and yet it's another intense thrasher. There are riffs beyond riffs beyond riffs that just punch you right in the face. And Enforced can surely fit a lot into a 2.5 minute jam, as there is a lot going on in such a short period of time. So I have to give Enforced credit that they could incorporate so many elements within a short amount of time, because wow. That's all I could say about that one. Malignant being track number 4, very Slayer inspired, as it gives the Slayer influence kind of gave this song a very sinister atmosphere to it, and I would say one of the best songs of the album, if you ask me, because of that sinister atmosphere it projects. But now we get to the middle of the album with the title track, Kill Grid, and typically longer songs give bands more opportunities to explore their sound. This song is no exception. We start off slow and moody, as it sounds like hell's armies are coming to murder you, and gives off more of that sinister vibe that you heard projected on the last track. But we go everywhere in this song with tempo, slow to fast to mid-tempo to hyper-speed. We go everywhere with the riffs as well, riffs beyond riffs beyond riffs. And of course, as you hear within the lyrics being projected, stories of killings, death, and the grave. Probably the most brutal and diverse song, as well as the most exploratory song of the album, and for that reason, I would say it's the best song on the album, in my personal opinion. But just when you thought that the album was basically done after that song, you thought that Enforced was finished after that track, they come back and punch you in the face with another killer tune in Curtain Fire, more of the Slayer influence coming out, especially when the song starts, as it does remind you of tracks from Slayer back in the golden day, like Raining Blood. It then goes into more of that hardcore-inspired vibe, but it does have more of that sinister eeriness plastered on top. And it does finish off with exactly how it started, with a catchy Slayer-style riff, and it caps off this song perfectly. Then we get into Hemorrhage, and this song starts off quite tribal with the drums and the pounding bass coming in before more brutality is unleashed. After the tribal beginning, we get back to the vicious onslaught of thrash that Enforced are capable of projecting. This time, instead of Slayer influences, I'm hearing a little bit of influence of Modern Testament peeking through into the song, which you get some of that later on. But up next, we get Blood Ribbon, and it starts off quite groovy. Definite reminders of Pantera come to mind when hearing the riffs and the rhythm of the beginning of this track. But like I said, that was just the beginning of the song. After that, more hyperspeed thrash, and this time I'm getting hints of the first album from The Haunted, with the way in which the riff is being performed and how it sounds. Like, it definitely reminds me of tracks from the self-titled debut of The Haunted. And then we get to the closing song, Trespasser, and we kick off the song with more groove. While this song does follow a similar formula to Blood Ribbon, and how it starts off groovy and then goes balls to the wall thrash, I would argue this song did a better job at transitioning in between. More Modern Testament influence peeking through, and it finishes off with an intense breakdown that is perfect for a mosh pit setting. And that was the end of the album. So overall, this album to me felt like more of an evil version of Power Trip's Nightmare Logic. The vocals remind me a lot of the late great Riley Gale. I would argue that this album does have a bit less hardcore influence than Nightmare Logic, but it does retain that sensibility a little bit. You can hear the band's main influences coming out: Slayer, Testament, The Haunted, Pantera, with a bit of that hardcore influence plastered on top. Though I don't think you could quite call these guys a crossover band. I just think they just like to add hints of that hardcore aesthetic on top, whereas Power Trip's still a thrash band, but definitely more hardcore influence than what you hear with Enforced. And is it just me, or when bands play at E flat, it just makes the music sound that much more evil? I mean, Slayer, Cannibal Corpse, Morbid Angel, Deicide, Evil, Testament, Death Angel, Sodom, among others who play at E flat. I'd say it does, as this album definitely has a sinister quality, that of which I like. So overall, this is the best thrash album of 2021 so far. I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. Not quite a perfect album, but it's damn near close. I like it just a little bit more than the Crown album that came out around the same time as this back in March. But given the two singles I've heard from the new Evil album, and that's coming out at the end of the month, who knows if Enforce is going to stay as top dog in thrash metal in 2021. That remains to be seen. But anyways, what did you guys think of Kill Grid by Enforced? Let me know in the comments below, and until next time, horns high, and I will see you soon.
Oh no.
Oh my god!
No, please! I beg you!
Are you
Listen! We have an understanding! I don't like you! Just accept...
Tails, it's time for you to die! Tails, come back here! Tails,
Yeah, of course.
come back here!
Let me,
Again? Wow.
Wow.
This is the most action I've gotten.
Quit sniffing, assholes, and come stay with me.
Yeah! Knew it!
No! God, I told you, man.
Wow. Wow.